you're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Welcome back, one and all, with our partners again today, playing Golden Goals with BetMGM. Get it downloaded now so you're ready to play later in the show. We're taking a look at some of the biggest games this forthcoming weekend before the FA Cup break. Of course, it's been a busy festive period as well with lots of amazing results, shock results and more. And I'm sure we're going to delve into all of that today, including Arsenal. Will they go back top of the Premier League? Chelsea's must-win game away at Luton. The Tottenham pressure after another big defeat for them. Are Liverpool now title favourites? And we will be touching on Man United as well, with who I do believe had the best festive period, really, with Mary Rasmus scoring his goal and all that jazz. We've got a great panel for you tonight. We've got Nobbins back with us. JJ is here. Sard, Canadian Cam back on the Top 6 Show. I think Egal and Will Stewart are coming. I don't know where they are. They've got the links, but they're going to be on their way very, very soon indeed. Hit like buttons for us if you haven't done so yet and subscribe. But how is everyone and how are your Christmases, gentlemen?
Doing good. Very good. My club blessed me with 3 points. I'm a happy boy.
We're good, man. We're good. You know, I'm on holiday until the 2nd. Can't complain.
I can't really say the same about the 3 points, but you know what? There was plenty of movies, man. There was plenty of movies to watch, man. So it was a good one for me, man.
Yeah, I hear you. I haven't really watched a lot of films. I haven't even got around to watching Die Hard yet, and I watch that every year. So I might have to do that before New Year kicks in, just because it's traditional.
I only watched it last year for the first time. That was it.
Such a good film, man.
Yeah.
Best action film ever.
Yeah, breaking.
And it's not a Christmas film.
You know it is a Christmas film, but you know it's a good film when it stands the test of time. When you watch it now in 2023 and it's still as good as a lot of action.
Yeah.
Some of the action films from the 80s and 90s, you watch them now and you're like, oh, that was so bad. That's so terrible. But yeah, Die Hard's one of them. Viewers, let us know your favorite Christmas movie. Let us know in the comments section below. And Die Hard is, yes, it is a Christmas movie. Maria Williams, who's watching, a Spurs fan there. I wanted to start with a little bit of Man United tonight, Cam. We have a big game against Nottingham Forest tomorrow at 5:30. A lot of people are predicting Man United to lose that game. How do you personally see it going, mate?
No, I think we win it. I think we kick on. Honestly, when you watch the Villa game, we were better than Villa for 70% of the game. As long as the manager gets the selection right. If Scott McTominay's not starting, cool. We probably win that game. If we turn that game on and we see Anthony and Scott McTominay, we probably are going to be in trouble. I don't know what kind of trouble. Probably a draw, maybe a loss, but I don't think we're going to lose if the manager gets the team selection correct. That's the biggest thing right now. We're far more talented than a team like Nottingham Forest. I know it's the Premier League and you can lose at any time, but we wouldn't be, if you look at how bad our manager's been when it comes to selection and injuries and all that, we wouldn't be 6 if our team wasn't better than most other teams. That's just the truth. That's why I think we stand where we are. It's just we have better players than everybody else, realistically. Everybody likes to banner us and the rival. I don't get involved in it as much. I let the rivals do it, but like player for player, let's be honest, we're better than a lot of these teams. So as long as we show up with the right mindset and the right team, we should have no problem against Forest. I'm not saying we're going to batter them because we don't batter teams, let's be honest, but I could see us easily winning, a 1-0 where we're comfortable all game. Like a 2, I mean, it's never comfortable at 1-0, but you know what I mean? One where you're like, they never feel like scoring. 2-0 maybe, 2-1 maybe, but I'm not going to say 3-0. I think that's crazy. Like, when's the last time I don't even know, like, us keeping a clean sheet's kind of crazy. I just think it'll be a comfortable win. I'll say that. I'm not going to go out and go crazy and be like, we're going to smash them in any. You're not getting that from me today, no. But we'll win.
Do you actually think you were better than Aston Villa for 70% of the game?
Yes. Yeah.
That's impossible. You were dire in that first half. We were
dire
in that first half.
We were dire for 20 minutes in that first half. That was it. No, they scored two set pieces. They scored 2 set pieces. They were in control for like 20 minutes, and then going into the second half, like going into the 40, like probably the 35th minute on, we were way better. Like we had them all. That's my opinion.
I thought they sat back. Mean? Yeah,
better. How? In the sense where there's a point where I get it, where people are like, oh, you know, they scored the 2 goals. We look a little shaky, but we took control back of the game. We looked like we were in better control. At the end of the day, every time we got on the ball, I felt we looked more dangerous. I thought we were going to score before the half. And I mean, like, I've got receipts. I thought we were going to score before the half. And then coming out of the second half, they didn't lay a glove on us, in my opinion. Like, we were
Do you think that's an active United thing, or do you think it's more a game state question of Villa had a 2-goal lead, therefore they set off?
Villa never lets up, though. Like, I've watched a bunch of Villa games, so I've heard this before. Villa never sits back. They played their like Unai Emery came out and said the high line being trained so well into them is a problem because they just do it automatically. Like, they played that offside trap the whole game. As soon as we figured out the offside trap, we were fine. That's the thing. Like, we were offside so much, which was ridiculous.
I don't know. I was watching that game and I saw Konza doing drag backs and doing 1-2s on the edge of their box, like they were at home and like you guys were in a relegation battle. For me, for where United come from,
first 25 minutes. But then after even in the second half at times, I just saw them just it looked like they took their foot off the gas. I was watching the game thinking, see, that's
Villa,
the funny thing.
Villa thought they'd won the game, and it's of course, you guys came into the game, but I don't think that's because of how well you guys played. I think that's a bit disingenuous in my opinion.
And see, that's for me, it's hilarious because that's what happens every time. It's like, oh, so we play well, and it's like, oh, well, they just dropped off. A team that's sitting in third that everybody said was going to smash us, we were going to get destroyed. It must have been them. It's not United. It had nothing to do with what we did. That's basically what you're saying.
Of course, you had to go and better your performance, but I'm addressing the fact that you said for the 70% of the game you were better. When for me, the most it could have been was half of the game, because that first half, Aston Villa just played. They done what they wanted to do. They got their 2-goal lead, and they'll just passing it around at the back. There were so many times Konza had the ball, was doing 1-2s. But there were so many times Konza had the ball, was doing 1-2s on the edge of their area. That's not a team that's saying, oh, okay, we're focused, we're trying to go and do. They didn't have to do that. They could have just kicked it forward and kept it about. They were keeping it in their area and watching you guys pass it, knowing that Rashford isn't going to make a run in behind. Knowing that Eriksen was the only one in that first half making any runs into the box, which in my opinion, he should be the one that's actually, dictating play, and Rashford should be on the end of things. It was an easy game for them. And I think, as Nobbins just kind of alluded to, they took their foot off the gas, in which in turn, you in the second half addressed, as you said, that half line, that high line from Aston Villa, which then enabled you to go and get the goals. I think Bruno Fernandes in that second half was really, really good. But to kind of just go apart like we were set, I don't know.
But listen to some of the things you said there is kind of crazy though, because you're saying like, oh, they were doing weird things on the edge of their box, like they wouldn't do. They were like. It's basically, again, you're taking all the credit away. It's like they dominated us. I don't understand how you could say a team dominated a game but lost 3-2, created only the 3 chances in the game. They created 3 chances. That was it. Like, realistically, so you're saying because they played around with the ball, they just like. How does that make any sense if we created?
I didn't say they dominated the game. I didn't say they dominated the game.
Sorry, they were better.
You didn't dominate 70% of the game. I said
I didn't say I thought we were better. I didn't say dominate. Not 1 point. I say dominate.
You were better for 70% of the game. Then however you want to wear that, I don't think that's the case, because I think in that first half, if the game had finished, Aston Villa was the much better team in that first half. To go and kind of make
it look like played in one half.
That's mad. That's mad because the maddest thing is I'm even a United fan, but when you go and start saying stuff like that then enables fans in general to be like, oh yeah, United were great. Like, no, they weren't. The fans were booing. The fans booed the United team off in the first half
because you were down 2-0. That's just how it works. That's just how it works.
Because they were down 2-0. You think that's the reason why? You think Man United fans are so kind of, I don't know, blindsided, put the blinkers on, that it's just, we're down 2-0, we're going to boo them for no reason. That's crazy. That's crazy. I was watching people at halftime. I was watching people at halftime get on live saying we were going to lose the game 4-0. We were going to lose the game 4-0. I was watching people say that because Man United fans are so blinded by their just rage right now, and they're unable to process what's happening in front of them. They're so upset about everything that's going on, as they should be, that you couldn't sit there and be like, wait a second. We look fine. Like, you had Patrice Evra come out at the half saying United goes on to win this game. Like, you have people who are watching objectively saying, like, we are probably going to go on and win this game. So, yes, there are fans booing because you would be frustrated being in the stands, watching a team down 2-0 when you shouldn't be, when you shouldn't have been 2-0. The reason they scored were 2 terrible.
I just want to say this. I don't I get. I wouldn't say we were better for 70% of the game, but I do think we were the better team. If you look at the whole game in its entirety, we were the better team performance-wise over 90 minutes. I'm going to say 60% if we're going to put a percentage on it, right? But I get where Cam's coming from. What I see from a lot of people is if Villa have not given up a single point from a winning position all year. So this notion that they went within themselves suddenly a weak Man United, I think is wrong. Man United, especially that second half, came out and were absolutely phenomenal. One of our goals came from pressing them high. We were turning over the ball very, very quickly. They created a couple of chances in the second half, a very good block from Evans and a good save from Onana. So they were still attacking and playing their game. We just had a phenomenal second half and the best we've had, I would say, in the majority of this season across all competitions. The question is now as to whether or not Man United can replicate that. And we beat Forest this weekend if we work as hard as them or harder. That's what it comes down to. This team has the quality in it. We just don't work hard enough. That's the problem. And I want to improve on the quality. By the way, we have the quality to beat Forest.
Well,
go on.
Tell the one thing that is what we didn't do, which we always do, is if we concede first, it's over. Almost every time it happens because we are weak mentally and we don't figure it out. At that point, like if you look at what happened with West Ham, we were better. We were better than West Ham in a lot of that game. They scored first, and we all knew as United fans when they scored, we're like, it's over. We're not going to get that goal. We don't have that mentality. For the first time that I've seen all year, we showed that we have the mentality to come back after being down. Look at our goal differential. We don't score a lot of goals. There's no confidence in the team.
Totally agree with that. And as Twisted said, United proving they can do it makes this season worse. And it does because it's been about application more than anything. But I wanted to ask about a specific player. Rasmus Hojlunf gets his first Premier League goal, Nobbins. Do you feel,
the miracle
objectively speaking, do you think he's going to go on a bit of a goal scoring run now? Do you think he's going to... Now, look, top goal scorer in the Champions League. He's been excellent in that competition in terms of putting the ball in the net. Struggled in the Premier League to do it. Gets his goal. You could see how much it meant to him. Do you think he'll kick on from this point now and start scoring more regularly for Man United?
Maybe. I quite like Hojlunf as a player. Even when he wasn't scoring, I quite like what he was offering United on the pitch. And I think that the question really is, will Hojlunf crack on? The question is, will the players around him facilitate him to be able to crack on? I don't know. I can't recall the exact stats, but it was something like he's only generated like an XG of around 3 in the Premier League this season. So he's not really being given as many opportunities as a player of his quality perhaps should be being given. So I think the main question for me is, can the Garnachos, the Rashfords, Antonys, etc., can they give him the adequate service? Because I think that there is a very good player in there. A very young player, raw, whatever term you want to use. But yeah, I back Hojlunf. I think he's a very good player, and I think if you give him the service on a consistent basis and you give him quality chances, then he will convert them. We saw him do it in the Champions League. It hasn't quite happened for him in the Premier League. Finally got his goal. So yeah, I don't see why not. Again, there's a very high quality player in there. My question wouldn't be about him. It's, as I say, it's Rashford, it's Garnacho, it's Antony.
Do you agree with that, Sard? I mean, he had a lot of criticism, more so from Man United fans and a singer from Australia than rivals, really, because I think most have seen a lot of Chelsea fans all year have said, if we had him instead of Jackson, I think he'd have scored 10 to 15 goals, which might be a slight exaggeration. But do you think this confidence will help him now, or do you agree with Nobbins that this is more about the Man United team who did in this game start crossing that ball first time? They were feeding the ball into the box earlier. Is that what it's more about, or is this on Hojlunf to kind of create more of his own chances?
I think two things can be right at the same time. Just in regards to, yes, I do believe that the Man United team are not giving him enough opportunities. They're not getting the ball to him enough. But at the same time, I do believe that this goal could spur him on to, wanting to ask for the ball more, being more eager to get the ball, going to the players and be like, bro, pass me the ball. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what you need from the player now. You need him to be eager to get onto the ball and eager to get in front of goal to try and score. I told you guys already, bro. I rate Hojlunf. Yeah. If I had him in my team, I think he'd be scoring bags of goals. So that's just my personal opinion. I really rate the striker. I think he's a very good striker. Just at the moment, he's in a team where no one's passing the ball. They're all trying to do it by themselves. Garnacho's on one side trying to be Ronaldo from the left, and trying to score every single game, and then you got Anthony who can't make his mind up on what foot he wants to use. And then if you even went and brought on Rashford, he's not the best with a striker next to him because he's not looking to pass. Rashford's looking to go on his right and shoot. Simple as that. Although he might have gotten an assist in the game against Aston Villa, that's not Rashford's game. Rashford's game is just turn and a shoot. He's trying to get his goals. So I feel like at the moment he's just unlucky because he's in a team where the players that are next to him are not able to pass to him. The only thing I would try, and obviously Ten Hag's kind of clueless. Otherwise, I'd say try and get Bruno next to him just so he can, because you got the player who creates.
That's what he did in this last game, and I've been screaming for it for weeks. Like Bruno. And you obviously we did a show earlier for Rumble, and I asked the question then, and I'd love to pose it to Bruno gets called out a lot for not being good with the ball at his feet, and he's too inconsistent. And what does he actually do? And I think we would all agree, wouldn't we, that Man United as an attacking unit and the system is not very good, not very good. Yet this season, not versus Man United midfielders, versus every other midfielder in the Premier League, Bruno has more key passes, more expected assists, more progressive passes through the lines, more crosses, more shots on target, more crosses into the box, more shot assists, creates more attacking actions than any other player in the Premier League, more passes into the box, second best long passes, second best through balls. To do all of that in an average system, when you're considered a player who makes terrible decisions, who loses the ball too much, demonstrates for me that you should only be playing him in one position, and that is off the striker, in and around the box. Stop making him sit in a DM position. We do it for the first time in ages, and it took a little bit of time for the team to get going, but Bruno was dictating that game left, right, and center in the second half, and we need to keep him off. Hojlund needs that support, and it wasn't always the through ball from Bruno to Hojlund. It may have been the ball through to Garnacho, or it may have been the ball through to Rashford, but we need him for that. This drop in Bruno Fernandes deep has just got to stop because he's bang average at that. When it comes to being that number 10, if you want to call it that, I don't really care what people's opinion of his eye test is. It's irrelevant. When it comes to all the metrics, all the elements of that style of footballer that you need, only KDB in the Premier League is better. Maybe not on the eye, but in terms of break. Imagine people, they can look better than him. They can appear better than him. They can lose the ball less than him. But if you are creating more opportunities to score than any other player in the league when you're played in that position, why would you play him anywhere else? It's especially when we're a team that's struggling to score. So I agree. Bruno needs to play off of him because they're the only two that can really open teams up. Stop dropping him deep, and I think Rasmus will get into some good goal scoring form. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, so sometimes football is a simple game of if you play your best players in their best positions, then you'll get the best out of them. Whether it's Bruno in attack and midfield, whether it's Phil Foden in midfield. We're going to Arsenal later, but I don't think Jesus' best position is striker. So it's as I say, yes, sometimes it is simple. Just play your best players in their best positions, and they will flourish.
Our big problem too with our starting front three is since they haven't been scoring, there is so much pressure you can tell on all of them, right? So they all are trying to be the person, especially a young Garnacho. The dropping of Rashford was necessary, but I think that's done. I hear what Saad's saying, like his game isn't necessarily, he's not your standard winger where he's never going to give you more assists than goals in a year, right? That's not something, we brought in Jadon Sancho for that. Man won't apologize. It is what it is. I think with Rashford, if you watch him when he's played with Hojlund, he's actually looked for him. He's been the most consistent deliverer of the ball to Hojlund. When they play together, he does do consistently. He sends the ball across in dangerous areas. I don't criticize Hojlund in the sense of like a lot of other people do, where I come down on him saying like, oh, he's trash or this or that. I say I'd love to see him make just a couple more hard near post runs, because there's a few times where I'm like, oh, if you were there. And you can see it with him. You see a lot of the times where he's like swinging for the ball and he ends up on the ground and he kind of slides into the net. And you're like, ooh, you were just there. And I think a lot of it's timing with him. Truly, what I believe is after this goal, he's going to go on and be more comfortable with the players around him. And I think the Bruno thing is there's nothing more frustrating than, I think, Terry, we've watched more than half the season with Bruno playing outright, never mind even in the midfield. So Bruno has to play in one position. And I'm really tired of people saying, well, if he's so good, he should be able to. No, well, he plays in the middle of the park. He plays that 10 role striker, and that's it. That's where he's good. And I don't care that
the player I'm going to mention is superior to Bruno Fernandes in every single which way in my view. But if you tried to play Zinedine Zidane in Claude Makelele's position in the French team, he wouldn't have been as good. he would have been good at passing the ball still, but he would have been making mistakes, or he wouldn't have been influencing the game in the way you want if he was 30, 40 yards deeper and not going up. You have to play players generally speaking, in their natural position. Some attackers can get away with it. Some defenders can get away with it for a short space of time. But atypically in football, you play people in their best position and they do well. Let's try playing Erling Haaland out as a left-sided attacker for a few weeks and see what happens. Not very much, if we're being honest. Someone says crazy take. So it's a crazy take that if you played Zidane as a DM, he'd do a good job as a DM. And he wouldn't be, if he was 30 yards deeper, less effective around the box when he's not around the fucking box, Ray. Like, did you think about what you're saying for a minute? Zidane couldn't influence at the edge of the box if he wasn't fucking on it. Think about it. Oh, my word. So sometimes, listen, I love my audience, but sometimes I don't think that maybe you're playing computer games while you're listening. Jesus. We'll do the score predictions later when we do golden goals with BetMGM. Zidane could have played in goal. Yeah, he definitely wouldn't have been creating goals then either if he was playing in goal. I'm telling you that now. But Zidane was a pretty good DM. Oh, fair enough. He was a good DM. He was a good DM. I don't think he was, to be fair. But anyway, strange, especially coming from kids that didn't. He was retired when some of these men were born. But anyway, we'll do the score predictions later. So get the app downloaded, ready. Spurs, gentlemen. I thought Will was coming on tonight. Well, KJ sent me his name through. I don't know where he is. I hope that he's well. But Spurs last night, JJ, they took a little bit of a beating. I know they got 2 late goals, but they took a little bit of a beating.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised. Like, I didn't, you could have predicted a loss, maybe a draw. I think Spurs have been decent this season. I thought that, they overcame all their kind of injury problems and their suspensions, and I thought they hit a bit of form. Looking obviously the game before, they got battered. I mean, I didn't watch the game because I was watching the Arsenal game, but I looked at the highlights, looked at the stats, and from what I hear, it could have been 7s, 8s, 9s in terms of goals that Brighton could have scored. I know they kind of picked it up towards the end of the game and scored a couple of goals, but I just don't know what it is with Spurs. I don't know whether it's the easy kind of like bit of analysis I can give is, I don't know, their squad isn't that strong. Do you know what I mean? As soon as they miss a couple of their players, or if the players aren't on it, they haven't got much to obviously come off the bench, or there's not much in regards to support. I know they're playing Emerson at centre back, which by any means is criminal if you're, trying to go for the top 4, let alone a title race, as some Spurs fans wanted to say. So it's it's a weird one because I haven't been that impressed with Brighton this season. I don't think they've kicked on in the way they wanted to. I know they obviously sold McAllister and obviously lost Colwell, but they haven't been that great. They've been a bit up and down as well. So I just didn't expect that result. But I know a lot of Brighton fans were saying that De Zerbi actually changed his tactics. So he went very, very direct instead and went kind of route one and kind of bypassed the midfield, which I guess Spurs weren't anticipating. And if they didn't anticipate it, they weren't going to change from what they're doing. And we know that Ange doesn't, I know he's adapted, but he doesn't adapt on a regular basis. He kind of sticks to his philosophy and rides with it. So yeah, interesting game, but unexpected for me from Spurs, that result.
Yeah, I mean, they play Bournemouth at home this weekend, Cam. Do you think they'll bounce back and get another victory, or could this be another patchy period for them?
I don't know. I tuned in yesterday thinking, all right, it's Brighton, yes, but Brighton hasn't been world beaters this year. They have a ton of injuries too. And I'm like, okay, Spurs will go on and probably comfortably win this game. 25 minutes in, I'm like, I'm going to the gym. Like I was watching the game and I'm like, I'm going to go watch the rest of this from the gym because they looked dreadful in the sense where I get what they're trying to do. And I understand Ange has a very specific system, but I think when you lose as many players as you've lost, you have to start adapting. And like, I know there's some people who feel differently about this, where as long as you continue to play your way, you don't care how it turns out. I think when you have that cushion that Spurs have, I think there is some adjusting you can do. I think you can approach certain games differently if you truly believe, okay, well, I have to put Emerson Royal at center back, then you shouldn't leave yourself open on the counter. You shouldn't try to play your style of football. You should probably change it up a little bit. losing Madison's been the biggest issue, probably clearly for them. Which by the way, we all knew was going to happen, right? There wasn't a single person who went into the year seeing James Madison killing it, starting there and being like, oh, well, he's going to do this for a full season without getting hurt. It's not in the cards. Some players, they just get hurt consistently. Not replacing Kane obviously is a thing, but they were scoring goals without him. And I think when it gets to the point where Josh has always told me, one of our friends in the channel, in the group chat, he's always said, we're really good against teams that come at us typically. And we didn't see that yesterday. So I don't know about if Bournemouth decides to attack them and Solanke in the form he's in, he grabs a goal or two early or gets an early goal. I think they're might be in a little bit of trouble. They got to finish their dinner too. They missed from when I was watching, even they missed a few. And then I turned back on later on and I watched the highlights. They missed a few sitters. So it comes down to finishing their dinner. They don't have the personnel they need right now, which is a big problem. But that's up to Ange. Like if this is his baptism by fire in the Prem, you're going to get injuries. And I'm just every team, West Ham, us, you name it, we're all devastated by injuries or somebody important at some point. And that's what's going to happen to you in the Premier League. So I'm curious how Ange goes out and decides to change it up, because he can't do what he did last game or they will lose. You can't have Emerson Royal at center back. You use some of these young kids. Alan made a really good point yesterday. There's guys at this club that have been there for 7, 9. It's like United. There's certain players that just need to be moved on. So just try some of your youngsters. Try some of your youngsters. See if they'll give you a little bit more purchase moving forward. And that's probably their best chance. They can't do what they did and win against Bournemouth with Solanke in the form he's in. I don't think so. But the game. That's what
I think they're in serious trouble. I think they're in serious trouble, bro, for this game, bro. Dominic Solanke is going crazy in the Premier League right now. He is going crazy. I think he's gonna have a field day with their defense the way in the shape that it is in now. With them not having Romero there, not having Van der Ven. I think it's gonna be 2-0, 3-0, something like that, man. I don't even think they're gonna score against them because
at home.
Yes, I truly believe that. I think Dominic Solanke is definitely going to get a goal or two. Man. He's going crazy this season.
I think
11 or 12 goals, isn't he?
Yeah, I actually think though, if they go and I know they've got like Phillips, who's highly touted, and who's at Blackburn, at Spurs, and they've got a couple other centre backs. If they play just a basic centre back, I guarantee he does better than Emerson Royal just defensively. It's where he plays. So, yeah, he might not offer what Emerson's got on the ball if you want to push it that far. And if he's offering a lot, and he might not have the experience. But from a defensive standpoint, he has more experience. The players played at the back. Phillips has played in the Championship. And I think for Solanke, that's he's going to pull onto an Emerson. That's the easy pickings. You put a centre back in there, it changes that dynamic quickly, because straight away the centre backs, all right, I'm just going to do my basics. I'm going to win my headers. I'm going to be first to challenges. And that alone will set a good foundation for the Spurs to kind of go and get the goal. I think if they play Emerson, boy, like that for me, that's what Solanke's looking for. It's just,
that's what I mean. He's got to throw away the style that he's trying to play with these players. It's like you're right. Just put in a kid who can play center, defend, and let Son and them do their thing. They're the better players up front. Like, they're trying to play their same style with dudes that are all in position. It doesn't look good. Like, it looks good, but you can see you can see the holes. You can see where the problems are going to be. And if we can see it, Solanke is going to feast. He's going to go, wait, this guy all day. Just
I know they're in good form. I think Spurs will do it. I think Spurs will win. I don't think it's going to be. They got beaten by a very good Brighton last night. I don't actually think Brighton have been as bad this season as people. They're on the same amount of points as they were last year. They topped the Europa League group. They've had mad, crazy injuries. I think maybe our expectations rose, but they've actually, considering it's their first ever season in Europe, they're in a similar position in the league, same amount of points. The only thing that's been poor for them is they had that run of games where they only won, I think, 2 in 8. Even though they only lost 2 of them as well, and it's the clean sheets, but at the same time, you look at it and think it's their best season so far. This has been the best season in their club's history, topping a European group and on the same amount of points as last year. So I still think they're a very decent side with the injuries they've got. Bournemouth, they are in good form, but I'm going to at some point very soon that form bubble is going to burst because it is just form. They're not as good, in my opinion, as they're currently playing. Solanke's having a good period, but we know that he ain't going to maintain these levels as an example. I think Spurs will do them. I'm not saying it'll be a battering. I think Spurs will beat them this weekend. I just think they will at home. I do agree about playing the 4 fullbacks. It's kind of the opposite to what Pep was doing last year with 4 centre backs. He's doing he's out here doing up 4 fullbacks as an example, but they need to get into that market as well. I know that Van der Ven is on his way back soon, but Romero now out for 5 to 6 weeks. They've got to get into that transfer market and try and buy a centre back that opens in a few days. But this weekend, New Year's Eve, I think Spurs will do it, and we'll obviously do our score predictions a little bit later. I wanted to go to some of these super chats that have come in throughout these first 2 subjects. The first one says, we'll come back. If they're not related to what we're talking about, we'll come back to them later. Let's go back. Spurs collapse last night was purely down to the continuous high intensity, high press with no ability to rotate due to injuries. We're knackered. Thank God for Big Vic. Would you guys say that's fair? Spurs just exhausted. That's why they lost.
I don't know. I think missing personnel was a big thing, especially at the back line. At the back line, for you to go into a game with, I believe they went into the game. Let me just double check to see who they went into the game with, because I believe Emerson Royale was in that centre back pairing.
Davies was the other one.
You're on mute. JJ.
Yeah, sorry, Poro, Emerson,
was it Davies?
Davies and Udogie, yeah.
Oh my God! So you got a centre back pairing of Emerson Royale and Davies, bro. And coming up against like Brighton, although like they came up against us, they came up against one of the best. The only reason why they looked like they couldn't touch us at times is because of how like good our defense is. For them to come up against those two as centre backs, of course they're going to eat them alive.
But at the same time, like, sorry, they'd have to rotate in this period anyway. They'd have to rotate, as in this period's very, very hectic. They wouldn't have just gone with the same 2 all the time. You know, Romero's going to be suspended.
But they would have had to keep. You'd have to keep one of the 2 though. So the fact that they're missing both their centre backs is the reason why they're.
I think that's just down to not having quality on the bench though. Like they've got.
Yeah, of course.
If they signed Van der Ven, that's the only centre back they signed. They potentially needed. Pardon?
It's poor squad building.
Yeah. That's it. Simple.
Yeah, I agree. This here says that Villa lost 0 points from winning positions before Man United. It's a great stat for United. Thank you. Christmas Day special with Only Fools and All Seas. Yeah, they were always brilliant and still are. Still are. If you haven't watched them, check them out. Arsenal to buy Grimaldo, swap winger sides, Zinchenko central midfield and add a striker. We'll come back to the Arsenal stuff a little bit later in the show, my friend. How and what made you start this show, and did you get
backing?
No, the Terrace, even though we have a partner at Snack Media, we've never had any financial backing.
This is how the Terrace started. Terry on his phone randomly and
walking through the streets of London. Yeah, that was kind of it. And it was initially it originally was called the Devil's Bus TV, because me and the guys, we got a mini bus that we bought that we should drive to watch Man United games in. We called it the Devil's Bus, and then we started recording on it before YouTube content was even a thing. Then it became the United Terrace. I don't know why we called it that. And then I got bored of just talking about Man United and wanted to do this. And so in 2017, the first of its kind, I remember being told by a couple of big YouTubers now who have similar channels. They were like, I don't think it'll work. Rivals won't want to hear you talk about their clubs. And I went, I'm going to do it. And that's kind of why it was, because I grew up in London where you'd have a classroom with 30 kids in it, and you might have 10 to 15 different football teams being discussed. And I wanted to create a YouTube channel that kind of echoed the way football was growing up for me, where you had loads of clubs being supported at the same time in one place. So that's it, really. Thank you. Hojlunf got his goal and boosted his confidence. Yes, he did, Ronnie boy. This here says Liverpool should be 7 clear. And Tottenham and Arsenal gifted points, and we all know Liverpool should have won both. We will be outraged come the end if these things affect league positions.
Arsenal gifted points is crazy, by the
That's
way.
crazy.
But we'll just let it slide, I guess.
Yeah. Liverpool have definitely had some harsh decisions go against them, but so has everyone. Like, we still haven't had our apology from the Premier League for Crystal Palace's offside goal. In fact, it's never even been discussed by the media. It's just carried on as normal. There's been a few. The handball, Romero, the penalty would have gone 1-up against Tottenham. Like, no one talks about that. Like, I'm not saying that makes it right, but it's happened to everybody. We should all be standing shoulder to shoulder fighting against it, but we won't. We'll make it tribal again, and they'll get away with it. Man United missed a trick and not signing a better version of Eriksen. He is so important to us. He can't run, but his quality on the ball is elite.
Yep.
Spot on, Akeem. Spot on in every single which way.
What confuses me though is why is he having to go and make runs in behind Hojlund as opposed to it being Rashford or someone else, and Rashford's trying to pick up the ball and do this creative role when he's just pumping the ball into someone or misplacing passes. It doesn't make sense to me. It's either, I don't know, Rashford's got no confidence or he's just not making the runs. Doesn't want to be that. I don't get it. I was watching the Aston Villa games, just confused, saying, I want Eriksen getting on the ball in these positions, playing the passes, maybe Bruno making the runs in behind.
That is a system, Jerry. I see it. It's a system issue. That's on the manager to change it. Those are the kind of things the manager's got horribly wrong. We have to pay more for a super chat. $5, yeah. Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, $4.99 is more money than $4.99. They're not the same. Yes, but I can't control that. Speak to YouTube, brother. It's not my fault. It is not my fault. Odegaard handball is crazy. You owe me $1.99. Thanks for the donation, brother. Keep them coming if you can afford it. Thank you very much indeed. Haaland is a beast. I think he would be good on the left wing.
Nah,
He'd try his best. Bless him, he'd try.
Yeah, bless his little cotton socks. He'd try. Another big game this weekend, and not a big game in terms of it's not star-studded. It isn't one that you ever thought you would look at as a big game, but it's going to be important for Chelsea, as this could be the scalp of all scalps tomorrow afternoon, 12:30 kickoff. The might of Luton Town Nobbins, their back garden stadium up against the very inconsistent hit-and-miss Chelsea team, going away to a place that has caused problems for all of the big teams so far at Luton. Do you think Chelsea have got the minerals? Do you think Chelsea have got the mental strength to get through it and allow their quality to shine through?
It's going to be hard, man, because I was really impressed with Luton when they played City. They're markedly better than Sheffield United and Burnley. Like, they are much better. Wouldn't surprise me if they don't get relegated. They've given Arsenal troubles, gave City some troubles as well. And Liverpool, drawing against them. Yeah, it's going to be a hard one. The fans will obviously make the atmosphere a sort of like cauldron that they can do. This Chelsea side, we've touched it before, relatively inexperienced in terms of being as a unit and as a squad together. So it wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea didn't get a win there, to be honest. Because of the issues, that we all know Chelsea have, like in terms of like the manager still not quite understanding that, as we discussed before, you play your best players in their best positions. The fact that they're going through a very bad run in respect of this season. And conversely, Luton are actually quite a good footballing team. So yeah, I think Luton are very good in terms of their pressing as well. So I think there'll be a lot of questions asked of Chelsea's midfield. Don't quite know their injury situation is. I think Enzo Fernandez might still be out injured. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. And it wouldn't surprise me actually if they got overrun in midfield, to be honest, by Luton's pressing. But we'll have to see. Luton are good.
For me, their biggest problem is they can't score, man. Like, they can't score, and I can see Chelsea at times dominating Luton in those areas, and it just being very similar to what we saw with Arsenal, which we obviously touched on, which we saw a lot yesterday or last game, where they're popping the ball about on the edge of the box, but they don't ever look like they're threatening, and that's going to be comfortable for Luton. And Luton are just going to go very direct into Morris, say it into someone, and then they'll break using those opportunities. So it's going to be an interesting game, man. It's going to be an interesting game. Luton have they've come on leaps and bounds from their first couple games in the Premier League as well. I think we've got to give them props as well, because I don't think anyone expected them to do as well as they're doing right now.
I'm going to come out here and say, I think that Chelsea are going to lose this. I think Luton can get another home win. At home, they've looked so. No, I'm not even saying it like that, bro.
You're on smoke today, Sad. Tottenham are losing, Chelsea are losing.
Listen, I'm not even trying to be on smoke.
smoke.
I'm not even trying to be on smoke, but all I'm saying is there's reasoning behind it. I think that Chelsea are going to lose because this ground, is like the old school grounds. Obviously, me and Terry and Don were discussing it. And Terry brought up the Dell as well, Upton Park, the Luton ground. All of these grounds have something in common. The supporters are so close to the pitch that it creates one of the most hostile environments because they're so close. So you can hear everything that's being said by the supporters. It's much louder in there. So I think they get behind their team and they could beat Chelsea. Chelsea struggle against low blocks. They have struggled this season. So I think they might lose this one. I think it could be a 1-0 game, maybe a 2-0, something like that.
I think that's crazy. I think that's wild. I can't, as much as I like to banter Chelsea, JJ said it perfectly. The biggest thing is their inability to score goals. So I could see it ending in like a 0-0 draw where Chelsea took 14 shots, maybe one hit the target. I could see that happening. I can't see Luton winning 2-0. Luton could if Luton gets a set piece in the right place, or they get a proper corner or something, and they get a similar goal to that Townsend one they had, which was a great goal. Can't remember who it was against, but was Newcastle. If they get a goal like that, then yes, Chelsea might be in a bit of trouble because they seem to panic just like United whenever they go down. But 2-0 that's I don't know, like a team they control most of the ball in almost all their games. To lose 2-0 to Luton would be kind of crazy.
All I'm gonna say is, bro. Last time I said that Sheffield are gonna go to Aston Villa and they're gonna beat them 1-0. Yeah, I was pretty close.
Bro, put a fiver on it.
I'm saying, man, the black tongue, bro.
Listen, 2-0 sounds crazy, but I hear what Saad's saying, because if you go and look at how Luton play, Luton don't want to have the ball. They don't want the onus on them to have the ball. They want the ball in front of them as much as possible, and they're going to trust their keeper to save long distance shots, crosses into the box. They're expecting the keepers and the centre backs to deal with it. If they can go and get the ball up, the likes of Morris are going to hold the ball up, and they're going to do something very similar that West Ham did to Arsenal, which is keep the ball when we can do and catch you on the counter. Now, we know that Chelsea have been susceptible to being hit on the counter. So
it's not been on the record. Look, I still see Chelsea. Chelsea would be my prediction to win, but they can lose this game. If they don't finish their dinner, if they don't take their chances, there's always that sting in the tail against these teams in the Premier League. What I will say, there's still a lot of people, including me, that don't necessarily think it's right to sack the manager yet. Chelsea have got so much to rebuild. I think they need a manager for a period of time. Even if he isn't the guy to win them a Premier League, they've got to create some stability at the club. But you lose a game like this, he will, if Luton would win this game, $1 billion spent losing to Luton. You spent more on transfers in 12 months than I think that must be worth. What's Luton Town even worth? Let's Google it. Luton Town valuation, right? I don't know.
It's worth 2 Lutons.
Okay. So it's no. Luton Town, it says here, is valued a value of 73 million as a club.
Yeah.
So they have spent, I don't know what's that. You're probably good at math, someone here. That 13, 14, 15 times the valuation of Luton on transfers in 18 months. You lose that game, whether it's right or wrong, there will be a large percentage of Chelsea fans who turn on that manager, and it becomes a position. Enzo here said, Terry, he's a fraud, he needs to go. And already people that want him out, he can't afford to lose this game. It's why I said in the title, games like this, in some respects, are more must-win than the games against the bigger and the better teams. Because you lose to City, it's, that's gutting, but it's Man City. You start losing to Luton's, the fans are not going to get on board with you. Then it becomes a very difficult and potentially untenable situation. So it's so important for Chelsea to find their minerals, to get through the difficult moments, and to finish their dinner tomorrow night, because Poch is going to find himself in a whole world of trouble. Even a draw will cause these problems. But if Luton were to do what Saad said and pull off a shock win, Poch is in big trouble.
Come on, Luton!
Terry, what you said there is exactly why I think Eric Ten Hag's been safe. Is the games we've lost, I've been like, yeah, fair enough. Like most of the games, I get it. Like we shouldn't lose 8 games ever by this point in the season. But when I look at the games we've lost, you're like, we weren't supposed to be like people talking about going in that Bayern game. Like we still have a chance. I'm like, no, we don't. Like there's certain games that you just know you're not going to win. Like the Arsenal one hurt me the most because we were that close. It was like inches from winning that game, right? Like that was it. That was inches. If Garnacho's on side, that game's done. We win that game. But you got to look at it. If you lose to Luton, for me, where does Poch even go from here? Like that's it. Like I look at Poch and I keep thinking to myself, we were almost, as much as it was between Poch and Eric Ten Hag, and you could argue, well, whatever, tomato. Realistically, Poch has been much worse than Eric Ten Hag, and he had such a higher profile than Eric Ten Hag in a sense around the world coming in. You know, PSG, all that, the Tottenham team that did but didn't. It's kind of like where you go from here if you're Poch. If you had a $1 billion spent, you've been in the team for long enough, you don't have them playing a certain style, now you're losing to a team like Luton or a draw. Like if they lose, it's a wrap for him. I think this is like, I truly believe there's no way he's staying.
I mean look, Luton spent what, 25 million or maybe less than that on transfers. To stay in the Premier League, and that was a crazy summer. Like I remember like Luton time wearing listen, we used to get changing cabins. Like it was cabins. Like we didn't have a ground. We didn't have a home ground. Like it's bad. Like and it's owned
by the fans. It isn't even owned by it isn't. It's funny really because I saw people obviously like Standard FC have come out. They should have spent more. They're keeping the money. They're damn right to keep their TV money. They could spend it all on players this summer and still go down. That's a possibility. And then they're left with nothing. They save 100 million of what they earn in TV money. They stay up another year and save a lot of that money. They probably safeguard the future of their club for 30 to 40 years. And that is that to them at this particular moment in time is far more important than trying to finish 10th. It really is. Although you could argue if they stay up, they earn more money, but if they're spending it all just to stay up, at some point, they're probably going to go back down because they don't even have like a rich billionaire owner behind the scenes. You can slowly pump more money in. Look, I'm sorry to wind up. Someone here says lies, Terry. What's a lie about what I just said? Like some of you say the weirdest things. They are owned by the fans. They don't have a rich multi-billionaire owner behind them. And I know this is a fact. Luton Town they are bigger than Leyton Orient, but Leyton Orient have the same thing. I've been talking to my brother about it. And he basically was saying how they don't want to get promoted to the championship. And he goes, we're kind of glad. We don't want to get relegated, but we don't want to be too good either. Because when they lose £3 million a year right now, which their owners can just about afford to cover, the average team in the championship, due to reasons he explained to me, loses around £13 million per year because it's far more expensive to be in that league. What you got to pay people, etc. He says, if we lose £13 million in a season, we go out of business. We actually, to a degree, they don't want to, unless we get more investment, because we don't want to be in that league, it can kill us. And you always have to factor these things in to what's being said. Terry, does FFP cover spending on a manager? Yes. Well, no, it's not exempt. If you have to spend on managers, that goes into your FFP spend. It is not deductible, but we'll be doing our score predictions later in the show on that. Of course, yesterday there was another humbling in North London. And we say that just as my brother Egal joins us on the show. How are you feeling sort of 24 hours later, Egal? We'll get onto the VAR, but about that Arsenal performance last night.
What happened to my internet?
I don't know.
You can still hear you, though.
His internet are on Caribbean time.
Bruv, you're moving right now like the Arsenal forwards last night. You're frozen. There we go. He's back.
Oh, sorry, my internet's acting up. Hey. Honestly, I was frustrated yesterday. And after having 30 shots, 5 big chances, not finishing our chances. Honestly, Terry, I can't even talk about refereeing decisions today because that is not what cost us yesterday. We cost ourselves. We have ourselves to blame. It's self-inflicted pain in that game. And it was 90 minutes of us just trying to find a breakthrough, and we couldn't do it simply because we were missing our chances in front of goal. We had sitters that players were missing. You had Gabriel Jesus, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, multiple players you can hold accountable for missing their chances yesterday. And that's the whole front three. it's the story of the whole season, really and truly. When you look at it, at one point of the season, we weren't creating enough chances, and when we do create enough chances, we're just not finishing those chances. We've had the mentality to come back into games and to continue to fight, but for how long can we just be having these close games? What happened to Arsenal just showing up and blowing teams out? Like, I feel like a lot of these games this season have been a lot more closer, a lot more tighter. And that West Ham game was just an example of what we've been seeing for majority of these games this.
Yeah, that internet is whack
this season. This season. It has. I don't know if Egal's gone, but I'll just quickly. Oh no, he's back. He's back.
No. Go ahead. I'm gonna change my seating so I can get my internet connection.
Listen, I echo what Egal was saying, man. I feel like this season, the fact that we, like I said again and again, it's all about the line break. It's all about getting it to the players as quickly as possible. For me, yeah, you need to catch these defenses by surprise. Do you know what I mean? Get it to the attackers. Saka and Martinelli worked so well last season because we were able to get the ball to them as quickly as possible, and we're overlapping. Yeah, on the right side, Ben White was overlapping constantly, offering him the extra pass. Yeah, when then he can go inside and he can try and pass in the ball, and Saka can get a shot off. Same thing on the left side. Martinelli's always got Granit Xhaka going round and offering him the extra pass. So for me, it's either you get the players to do what they were doing last season and get, obviously Thomas Partey's coming back, so that hopefully that should bring us back a bit to what we were doing before, because I feel like Thomas Partey plays a massive part in the way that we attack, from getting the ball to Odegaard so quick, and then Odegaard getting it to Saka so quick, or sometimes you see Thomas Partey even put a ball over the top. So listen, for me, I think it's the midfield change. The midfield change has completely scrambled everybody in that attack. Everybody, because it's just not how it was last season. Hence why we don't look so fluid. Defensively, we look spectacular, amazing. I'm happy with the defense. But now the attack, not only is it getting a striker, we need that left eight. We need somebody who can break the lines for us and get the ball to the attack as quick as possible.
I hear what you're saying, but for me at the same time, it's more simple than that. Saka isn't as good as he was last season, especially in the Premier League. Martinelli isn't as good as he was last season. Gabriel Jesus, of course, isn't as good. And that is the major issue for you, is the ability to go and make sure you can score goals. Because when you go and look at the way you go and play, there was plenty of times you had the ball on the edge of the box and they were camped, that West Ham were camped inside their box. The difference is that usually when you're playing against a team, so if you go back to the Liverpool game, Liverpool are going to attack you. West Ham want to sit back. So you need to have something else in your locker to be able to go and break that down. Now, Saka had a chance when he went and hit the post. Apart from that, he had the tame shot that he cut inside and didn't really, test
and
the
keeper.
Header
directly Saka had 9 shots, bro. Saka had 9 shots in the box. You can't tell me he didn't have chances.
I didn't say he didn't have chances. I said he wasn't clinical with his chances.
There were great chances though. Like the thing is, and I think JJ, you nailed it when you said Saka hasn't been as good. Like your starboard got to be who he was last year for Arsenal, because that's what the one header for me. Saka scores that every single time last year. And this time it was like right at Areola. And you just look at some of the times where he cuts in and the weak shots on his left. And you're kind of, the only shot he had that had a lot of venom was the one when he should have passed it, in my opinion. Like I was like, I don't know who it was he missed, but there's 2 guys coming up the middle. I forget who it was. It could have been Trosser. It could have been Odegaard, 2 blonde guys. And he drilled it near post and he should have crossed that ball. Right. So it's kind of like, it feels like he's forcing it in moments where he shouldn't be, and he's just not making the right decisions.
I want to ask a question about Saka, because it came up. A few people have been speaking about it on the Rumble show we do, which, by the way, out tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. exclusively on Rumble. Go and check it out. It's called The Squad. But a question that came up on there was, is Saka, they mentioned Martinelli as well, but is he overrated? Is he as good as people were claiming he was last year? Is it because this year there has been a drop-off in terms of performance? He's cutting in a lot on his left-hand side. He's going on the outside left. Has he been kind of found out? Have people worked out how to stop him, JJ? Do you think there's an element of that, or is it just a player who is not in form?
I mean, depends what you mean by overrated. If people are saying he's the best right winger, some people are saying potentially in the world, and he's this and he's that based off one season, I think that's overrated. I think he's still very, very good. I think there was a couple times, Onana made a last-ditch tackle where they done a really nice little 1-2 on the edge of the box, and you can see. I was at that at the Liverpool Arsenal game as well at Anfield, and you can see he's a problem. The problem is he's very one-dimensional, and he's being aided by the fact you've got an Odegaard and you've got really creative players. When you see Saka, it's like he's going to cut in on his left, but you can't really stop it. And I think, is he that killer? Do you know what I mean? Is he that killer like a Salah? Can he go and replicate what he did last season in terms of goals? He's proving that he can't, and it doesn't mean he's a bad player. I'm not saying that at all, but he's not as good as he was last season. And Arteta was probably banking on Martinelli and Saka having the same output that they had last season. Hence why he didn't necessarily go out and get a striker, or didn't see that to be a pressing need for one. Now you're looking at it and it's like, oh, have they returned to their mean, or is there a dip? Because I can look at Egal's face. Egal's probably going to tell you, nah, Saka's been really good this season. Look what he done in the Champions League, or he's going to give me some stats. But we know
just in the Premier League. Just in the Premier League.
Just
even the Champions League. I can bring you stats in the Premier League where he's done five goals and 7 assists.
I don't want to go try. I want to throw this to Egal and Sard. Something you said there, JJ, which I think needs to be discussed is Saka too one-dimensional as a football player?
No, I just think it's a situation where the players are trying to get used to the slight system change. There's been a change to the system and a tweak to the system from last season, and it's forced. Because Saka had a moment where he was slumping. You see in Kai Havertz, it took him a while to get used to it. We still see Martinelli still trying to get used to it. I don't think that these players are performing bad because they're just having a poor run of form and the slight changes that they're being asked to do this season. And once they do, you'll see an upturn in form immediately. And when it comes to Bukayo Saka, guess what? It depends who you ask. If somebody's talking about him being better than Mo Salah, of course, that's overrating him, because I don't think he's ever been on that level yet. But if you were to say that he is one of the best in his position, I don't think that's overrating him. I think Bukayo Saka has been properly rated, and based on his performances for the last 2 years, he's been showing that. If you want to say he's not doing as well as he should be doing off the back of that game, fair enough. But I think the term overrated, it depends who you spoke to and what they said to you.
Egal, can I ask you a question on something you said there? Because you said something that kind of threw me, where you're like getting used to the system. Why would Arteta change a system that worked so well last year? Realistically, you should have won the league, in my opinion. And to me, what's their Arteta's been there for 6 years now or something. So what are they getting used to? Like,
the personnel is different. The personnel is different, meaning that you don't have the same level of skill sets in those positions.
Other than Xhaka, who did you really lose?
No, but that is a massive role change. Let's be honest.
I was the one who was being told Xhaka was.
When you have a player, no two players are the exact same, obviously, ever.
Obviously.
And when you see a Kai Havertz coming into that midfield rather than a person who gets a lot more of the ball and holds onto the ball a lot more during a game in Xhaka, and you change it to a Trossard or a Kai Havertz or even a Fabio Vieira at points in the season, you can see that there's been a slight change. That left 8 is not being asked to recycle the ball as much, not being asked to hold on to the ball as much. That's more the role of the left back to basically in Zinchenko to do that dogged work.
Well, that's fair. But what I'm trying to ask,
and that changes the whole dynamic of the midfield.
But what I was going to say, how does that affect Saka? Because when we're looking at Saka, I hear what you're saying about the midfield, and you're saying that there's rotations and stuff. But ultimately, it's not as though you're having less possession in games. It's not as though you're not creating chances. You're doing all of that. But the personnel, in terms of Saka, isn't performing like he did last season. So when I look at it, I mean, as Cam said, a couple of those chances back, like maybe last season, they probably go in. That header that he had goes in. That chance in the opening minutes where he cuts inside and passes it into Areola, that probably goes into the back of the net. Now he's not doing that. I don't know what is different in terms of his role. Is he further away from goal? I don't know. Like what?
When I was referring to system, I was talking more about Odegaard and the likes of Martinelli. When we talk about Bukayo Saka, let's be honest. Bukayo Saka has probably been the most consistent performer out of everybody in that Arsenal team this season. So when you're talking about underperforming attack, who has been the person who's been producing week in, week out? Even when he's not necessarily played as well, Bukayo Saka has been the guy who's been producing. So to say other people around him are underperforming or Bukayo Saka's average, I think is a ridiculous statement. I think Bukayo Saka this season this season, Bukayo Saka has actually been putting a lot of chances on the plate for Martinelli and others not finishing their dinner. Martin Odegaard putting it on the plate for the likes of Eddie Nketiah and Leandro Trossard not finishing their dinner. So I think a lot of other players are letting us down, and it's not just the two guys that everyone keeps criticizing, and Saka and Odegaard are the ones that are our biggest chance creators, and they're getting criticized because the people are not finishing their dinner.
Do you think Martinelli and Saka's role then is the exact same as it was last season?
Martinelli's
what's
role
different? What's different? That's what I'm asking, because
Martinelli is as good as the person playing in the left 8 can and help make space for him and work with him. Martinelli, he benefited massively from Granit Xhaka in the system from last season, based on the fact that whenever Xhaka had the ball, he'd find him in space. Whenever Zinchenko had the ball, he'd find him in space. And right now, when Martinelli's making these runs, either Xhaka or whoever's on the ball is not finding him, or whenever he is in an area, in those areas, you don't see the same level of assistance or overlaps. I remember last year we see Xhaka making those overlaps on a consistent basis. So I'm not here criticizing Martinelli. He needs to get better. But systematically, the changes that have been made, he is not doing the same things as last season, which is making him look a lot worse. And when he's missing his chances, like he did against Liverpool, like he did yesterday, and like he did in other games, these are where people start to criticize him and say he's being exposed.
I think he's a victim of his own success in that now this season, opposition teams are doubling up on him, sometimes even tripling up on him. But then the question becomes, well, there needs to be a sort of an evolution in Saka's game, therefore. So it's just to take a very recent example, Bernardo Silva against Everton recently, when he got on the ball on the right side, and his intent was never to try to take on his man. His intent was to act as a magnet, drag two defenders. So he dragged McNeil and Mikalenko towards him. What did that do? That gave Phil Foden a hell of a lot of space to attack, and that's how we produced a goal. Grealish is amazing at doing that. He does that consistently, giving Rodri those long shot opportunities. So whether it's like an individual Saka thing or whether it's like an Arsenal evolutionary thing, there needs to be some sort of acceptance that you're not going to get as much joy and as much space because opposition teams respect you too much. They know how good Saka is. They know how good Martinelli is. But so there is that's an issue, but then there's got to be some problem solving there. Then it's got to be a case of, right, now how can we utilize that? Well, if Saka's getting doubled up on, trebled up on, someone else must be in space. That's the problem solving that Arteta's got to do. That's the problem solving that Saka and the players in and around him have got to do as well.
What you said there about evolution, I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think he's necessarily he's overrated if people are saying that he's the best right winger in the world. That would be overrating him. I remember back in the 2009-10 season, I remember there was a point in time, and people are going to laugh at this, but it's because you're too young to remember, where Luis Nani and Gareth Bale on performance were about the same level in the Premier League. They were getting some good goals, assisting, they'd go missing in certain games, but both looked as though they could go to that next level where they could become world class. Nani was still young, Bale was. And I remember they were going through peaks and troughs. And I remember listening to the pundits talk about it. I remember my dad talking to me about it. He goes, this is what always happens to young players. He said, they'll start doing well, and then the tacticians and the coaches work out how to stop them. Maybe it's doubling up, maybe it's showing them on the outside, maybe it's roughing them up a little bit, a combination of all of them. He says the top class players work out ways of still delivering. The players that are not so good, they hit a ceiling and they never really improved from there. Gareth Bale went on to be one of the best players in the world. Luis Nani never got any better. And sometimes that can be hard work. Sometimes that can be perseverance. That's an attribute as well. But that's what I think Saka's going through right now, where people are working out ways, whether it's system-based or individually, to stop him. They're showing him on the inside. But as they show him on the inside, there's always somebody there to either stop the cross or block the shot. He's now got to work out what to do. Whether that be, it's the system helps him by, okay, well, I'm going to keep going on the outside and take players with me and pass to the inside, or he's got to find a different way of beating these players where he's running into more space. Because I do feel, and this isn't a dig, because he's much better than him, but what I see him and Martinelli doing reminds me of what Anthony does. Not going on the outside, cutting on the inside, and too regularly. Yes, there was 30 shots, but how many of them were shots they shouldn't have been taking and were getting blocked within a yard of it leaving their foot? And they're shooting it into, it's like that for me. I don't even count that as a shot. I know statistically it's one, but it's one of those shots where you're probably watching it as Arsenal fans going, don't shoot, because the likelihood of it beating that first man, second man, going through the big crowd and going in are so low. They need to get better at that, in my opinion. But I do think it's because they're young, and I wouldn't necessarily personally say that Saka and Arsenal are overrated. They're just going through some teething problems right now.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is the system. Zinchenko the same. He plays on the inverted element. So you've got Martinelli that cuts in on his right foot all the time, but Zinchenko's on the inside. There's nobody overlapping. That means there's loads of space on the outside. Arteta has got to adjust his system to put somebody in that position, to utilize that space to put the ball into the box. Then what you need is players bombing into the box. At times yesterday, you guys broke the line. You had 2 players in the box, and West Ham had 7 or 8. You're never going to score enough goals that way in these types of games. And I think some of it is the players adapting and changing their games. I think another element of it is Arteta having to do what Pep did when he changed his system last year. Klopp has changed his system. We saw Fergie do it multiple generations. He's got to go, right, this isn't quite working. He needs to find a way of making a slight adjustment. And normally it's not tactics, it's positional areas to exploit the teams, because the way you're playing right now is not the exact reason why, but this is why you're not going to win the league. You're going to be in the title race. You're going to come close, but it's not finishing these games off, not being good enough to score in. It only takes 3 or 4 games like this in the season. That will be the difference between winning the league and not. You're still one of the best teams in it, but we're talking about the elite end of the spectrum. And I do think buying someone like an Ivan Toney will help, but you still need to get that ball into the box.
Can I still think they win the league? I still think.
Can I just say one thing? Obviously, listen. Big up Bukayo Saka, yeah, 20 GA in all competitions, While he's sitting here being slated for having a shit season, he's got 20 GA in all competitions. Scoring in the Champions League helped me get to the top of the group, yeah? So let me just give you guys one reason why Saka, firstly, is not firing this season, yeah? It is Benjamin White. That is the main reason why. Because when Saka goes up and then he's getting doubled up on, there's 2 men right there. Ben White, yesterday, I watched him. I'm sitting there. I'm like, right, let's watch Ben White. He's just passed it to Odegaard, and Odegaard passed it to Saka. Let's watch what Ben White does. What does he do? Ben White just stands back and watches Saka. Got 2 men on him like that. He does nothing. Doesn't go and overlap. Doesn't give him assistance. Doesn't come close and say, give me the ball. That's it. He just sits there and just lets him suffer. How do we expect Saka to do something? Do we expect him to get past 2 men like as if he's Lionel Messi, bro? It's never going to happen. But no, hold on though. Because if you look at the Burnley game, you look at the Brentford game, and you look at the Wolves game, every single one of these, all 3 of these games, Saka either got a goal or assist. The reason why is because Tomiyasu was there. And the reason why Tomiyasu was there and playing so well is because he overlaps. As soon as Tomiyasu came back, he was overlapping, helping Saka.
Wasn't Ben White your main? But hold on. So this goes back to my point earlier about like last year versus. And I've always said Ben White shouldn't be a right back, but wasn't he your right back all last year too? Like what? Like again, if that was the case and Saka was firing, like, and I'm not slandering Saka at all. I truly, like, God, I would snap my hand off to have him on my team. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's the second best winger in the league. Like, I'm not slandering him at all. I think he's great, and I still think Arsenal can win this league. No problem, but I think they should win the league. But you brought up something that was fine last year, and now is a problem this year. So it goes back to the main problem, which I think is your manager hasn't adjusted correctly. That's where I'm at with it, because like the players are basically the same. You can't, like, when you say the personnel's changed, yes, I think Kai Havertz isn't a great player, but everyone's been telling me he's been fine this year. Declan Rice is a massive upgrade to whatever you had there. So you've added the
reason why we bought Timber. And the reason why we bought Timber is because he wants what he actually wants to do is have Timber on the left back position. He wants
you don't have Timber anymore, so I don't care what he wants to do.
One second.
Why can't Arteta try something? Why can't Arteta do? I think this needs to come back into football. Look, football's never been an exact science where people are trying to make it one. Why doesn't he just switch the players? I want to see Man United do this as well, by the way. And we kind of did the other night, and Garnacho looked better for it. Why don't you stick Saka on the left and Martinelli on the right, and then tell him to go on the outside and cut balls back into the box? Like, no one's really doing it in football. Teams aren't even training to defend against players that go, like, try something different.
You know what the problem is, though? Where's Gabriel Jesus playing? You're saying a couple of times. You're saying a couple of times. You said a couple of times. You said a couple of times there was 2 Arsenal players inside the box. I can count, about 4 times in that game. I was watching it with someone where we were like, pause it there. And we paused it. Everyone's on the outside of the box. West Ham are camped in. Alvarez has dropped into centre-back as well. You've got Ward-Prowse in front of them, and no one's in the box. Saka's out here. A couple times, Rice actually made an overlapping run, and he's the furthest man forward on the outside of that defensive unit. If you've got no striker there, there's no point having a Saka there, because all that happens is that you got crosses into the box, but no one's there. You know he's not going to come in on his right foot and do anything else.
You couldn't have said it any better. You couldn't have said it any better right there. Because the reality is, guess what, bro? Saeed, we had a situation in the first half before we went to a back 3 after we made the substitutions late in the game to try to chase the game, that Ben White was making overlaps. What happened was he had an easy pass to a certain Gabriel Jesus. What happened? We know what happened. He missed a clear header. He missed a clear header. That was the easiest assist from Ben White. That was a link up for Bukayo Saka to Ben White for a cross, and nothing came from it. Odegaard was also doing a similar thing with Ben White. I don't want to hear the thing about Ben White. Ben White, guess what? Yes, he wasn't as good as last season. But you could say majority of the players besides Saliba were not as good as last season. The reason why we're here today and criticizing Arsenal for a 2-0 loss versus West Ham is not because of referee decisions, is not because of Bukayo Saka specifically. It's because as a collective, the front 3 have not scored a lot of goals. We have a front three that have scored less goals than Jared Bowen. So
that's mad. That is true. That's mad, but
very crazy.
But if you look at the rate at which Jesus is scoring, I know he was injured for a bit as well. It probably is going to be on par of what he done last season, right? Last season he need Saka and Martinelli. Exactly. So they need Saka and Martinelli to score goals. If they don't score goals, then you're finished. Because essentially what you're doing is trying to replicate this whole, we've got this striker that pulls out of these positions and draws the centre-backs out to allow Saka and Martinelli to obviously make runs and score goals that way. If they're not scoring goals, then you've got a problem. Another issue I think they have is Saka is too ball dominant. I think when you asked about Terry, what can Saka do to kind of change and change how he can go and combat defenses, is actually being more like a Salah, which he doesn't really need the ball to still be effective. He can make runs from out to in. That way players can go and find him. I think when he's receiving the ball a lot of the time, you know what he's going to go and do, and you just set up shop.
Let me give you my answer. We should have played the team that we played against Newcastle. Even though we lost against Newcastle, that team with Declan Rice on the left allows you to cover up defensively for Zinchenko, and also gives Martinelli the freedom to have the link up with Zinchenko on that left side, and not have another person taking up that space that Trossard was. I don't think Trossard and Martinelli really helped us yesterday. So this is where I look at Mikel Arteta and I say to him, we can't be going, if we're missing Kai Havertz or Partey, or we're missing these guys, I don't want to see Trossard in the midfield anymore. I don't think Trossard in the midfield worked for this game, and I think Trossard was kind of missing for majority of the game. The only times you'd see him was when he was in the box in a striker type position, which as the left 8 midfielder, he's leaving Declan Rice all alone. I know we didn't face too much attacks, but against a better team, with Zinchenko playing that forward, Trossard playing that forward, and Martinelli, that left side was weak. We keep talking about Saka, Odegaard, Ben White, but are we realizing why we were utilizing that side more? Because we were worried about a quick counter from the left if any of those guys lost the ball.
I hear you on that. I'm looking at some of these super chats here. First one says Saka needs to practice more with his right foot instead of spending his time baking cakes from Mikel Arteta and Gareth Southgate. Just an opinion. What, has you been baking cakes? I don't watch that kind of content. The personal change for Arsenal on the left affects the right. No, Xhaka, Odegaard goes deeper to pick the ball. Last season, Saka was facilitated by Odegaard and Ben White. Now he's alone against 3 defenders.
That's exactly.
I mean, I saw those 3 on the right-hand side loads last night. I think that's an oversimplification, personally. Saka and Martinelli got to swap wings and go on the outside. There is a good challenge today. Who's going to be in the box? But yeah, I hear you on that. Terry, are Arsenal still winning the league? I've never once said this season they were. So you can go ask your mum, bro. I don't know about that.
We still can.
They can, but I didn't say it. Do you know what I mean? I predicted them to come second. VAR should only suggest the monitor. NT
not more.
Nothing more.
Okay, not more. Okay, I hear you on that. We'll come back to it later. How are Arsenal going to get on against Fulham, though? That's the big question, Sar. Do you see yourselves? Are you going to bounce back away from home against them? They had those 2 big wins, but then I think they're on back. I think they've lost like 3 on the bounce now and not been very good at all. So, are you confident going away to Craven Cottage and picking up 3 points? And what would then put you back top of the table?
Listen, I said this to you before. I'll say it again, man. I think it's the most Arsenal thing for us. Just we don't score in this game, we go out and score against them 4-5-0. It's just the most Arsenal thing to do. So yeah. I genuinely believe we will go out there. It's going to be a statement performance. You have to, after what happened on the weekend, on the weekday, it feels like a weekend. After what happened yesterday, bro, you have to go out there and minimum 2 goals. Minimum 2 goals. There's no way that you can go out there and put another shocking performance. No, but I'm not even tempted. No, I'm not tempted now. I'm not tempted. But all I'm saying is, like, I think for us, we have to go out there. We have to put a better performance up. Those boys have to be looking at themselves in the mirror and be like, bro, I'm playing at Arsenal, bro. Yeah, I have to go out there and put a performance out against Fulham. We have to. I know Fulham have got some players that are good, dangerous. João Paulinho, Pereira, but yeah, listen, Iwobi, but listen, we're Arsenal. I'll be real, we have to go out there and put a performance up, and I think they will go out and put a performance up, and I think we will win this game.
Guys, don't act like what happened yesterday against West Ham is the norm. What happened against West Ham should not be happening. We had a
striker.
We had a Premier League record. guys, we had a Premier League record of touches in the box without scoring a goal. That just shows you how abnormal what happened yesterday is. I don't think that's going to happen against Fulham. I think against Fulham we should Mikel Arteta would have drilled these guys the whole couple days, just telling them, you got to focus, you got to make sure you don't make these mistakes, or at least today alone he'll be speaking to them, making sure they know the mistakes that they made against West Ham. I know it's away from home, but West Ham has recently been a good hunting ground for us. I remember that when the first year I was on the terrace, like, consistently, we did a watch along, Terry, for the first game of the season. It was against Fulham. Gabriel Magalhaes scored. We won that game. Last year we won with Trossard getting a hat-trick of assists. So it's a good hunting ground for us. Maybe it's a good opportunity for us to go pick up all 3 points, but I need to see a better offensive performance because we're now creating the chances. We just need to finish them off. I don't think it's that deep.
I agree.
Hey, yeah, I'm not going to give no crazy scoreline or anything like that. I'll probably take a 3-0 or 2-0 victory and just run away with it.
You take a 3-0. For 3-0.
Because listen, the chances that we created this last game, we should have at least scored 2 or 3. So I think that would be the similar situation. Just hopefully we finish our dinner this time.
Cam, do you think it's crazy how a lot of people, including individuals, Arsenal fans that have predicted Arsenal to win the league, have completely changed their mind after the West Ham defeat? It's almost like baby seems to have been thrown out. They're throwing baby out with the bathwater.
It makes no sense to me. I predicted Arsenal to win the league, and I haven't stumbled at all. I should be the one being like, oh, now it's like I've been consistent. My thing that I'm seeing an issue with now is Arteta is apparently this new system that I'm hearing Arsenal fans talk about not working and all this. And I'm like, well, then just go back to what worked last year, because you know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried. Like, listen, City is City. So you have to be, so you changed one player. Like, Zach, that's it.
Granted, Xhaka is like, honestly, you guys are going to laugh at me, but granted, Xhaka has like a Xavi Alonso like tap.
I've never heard this in my life.
Oh my God.
Right.
His ability. 1 second. You guys are laughing, but his ability to pass from that position, nobody else in our team that can replicate that from the left 8 position.
Oh my God.
No,
Xavi Alonso.
This is who he was compared to. This is who he was compared to when he was in Bundesliga. He's now managing under him. He's managed under him, and you see what he can do. You've seen what he did at Arsenal. He never actually lived up to the hype, but the final season that he was at, he turned well. I don't know.
Wow. I didn't expect that.
Because you just compared him to Alonso, but then said he never lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
But he has that one ability that's close to him. Yeah.
So here's the thing. But here's the
I
thing.
love you, brother. I fucking love you, Gal. You're the best, brother.
Back to that caught me off guard. Back to what Terry said.
It's true. That one ability, which is we don't have in that left.
No, it's true. I think he's good. Okay, listen. I thought he was.
Does that.
No, but this is the thing. So coming into the season, this is the thing with Arsenal. Coming into the season, losing Xhaka, who was much maligned for most of his time, he had a great season to the point where I bet that Kai would not be as good as he was last year because I hear what you're saying, but you brought in better players. You also have somebody who was apparently at the start of the year, we were talking about Fabio Vieira. We're going to see this.
People are overreacting.
So you had a few things, right? So in my mind, for me, watching City not be the City of old, and the City of old wins the league's over already. If this league's playing the way it is, the City of old, they probably would have been so far ahead. So they're not. So in my opinion, I'm like,
you could say that about Arsenal from last season.
I don't see why Arsenal. Well, no, you should be better. So this is the difference. The difference with City not being better is City's going through a period of they've won everything. They've had some big arcs. They've had some big personnel change. Let's be honest. They had their best player missing for most of the time. For me, I'm like, I get why City's kind of like, yeah, we'll be here, and they will be there. Where you guys, it's like this was it. You were there last year. You were supposed to win it. So for me, being in the situation you're in now, for Arsenal fans to be freaking out and saying like, "Oh, we can't do it because you lost to West Ham," is not. No, I know you haven't. But
have you said that? Have you said we can't do it? I'm confused.
What's that, bro?
Did he say we can't do it? I'm confused. I don't think anyone on the stream said we
I've
can't
seen
do
a
it.
few Arsenal fans say that the league's done now, and you guys.
I think Arsenal.
No. I said that we can win the league, and fact. I'm still standing by that. I think we can win the league. These people, do you guys understand? Yeah, these guys have been cooked within their fan base, within social media. They're getting cooked. They can't handle it. They can't handle it. So automatically they're like, oh, okay, we can't win the league. We can't win the league, bro. These guys are weak, man.
I'm not even gonna lie. Listen, I don't want to control how other fans speak. Let them speak however you want, but they genuinely don't believe that this team can do it. And that is because they're scarred of many years of us falling off and not being able to get over the hurdle. So until we do it, even some of our own fans don't believe in this team, don't believe in the squad to the same level that some people do. When we win games, you can see them say, you know what, that belief just comes in a little bit. But when we lose, that disbelief creeps back in. And it just takes two bad results for our fans to lose composure. Same way, it takes rivals a couple bad results for us to see, for our fans to be like, oh, City dropped points. Now I'm starting to believe more. Liverpool dropped points. Now I'm starting to believe more. It almost like our emotions is so dependent on the results, where you look over at City fans would be like, I'll see you in May. You look at Liverpool fans, they'd be like, oh, this team is doing really good. Let's see what we can do. Where Arsenal fans, we're almost at the edge of our seat after every result because we haven't seen our team lift silverware in over 20 years. We have a very large portion of our fan base that haven't seen a league title won in their lifetime. So understandably so, 19 years worth of not winning a league title, you're going to have a fan base that is not even used to being in the title race. Last season, I said we lacked composure in the title race, and it caused me yelling at Brendan for a goddamn stream. So it just goes to show you what we're.
I love that stream.
I've not only just seen people saying that we're not going to win the league, bro. I've seen people say they want Mikel Arteta out. They said, nah, I'm done with him. Get him out, bro. I don't want Mikel Arteta at my club anymore, bro. They're crazy.
Remember after Fulham. Remember after Fulham,
after this year, though,
bro, it's crazy.
So if you don't win it this year, though, if you don't win it this year, and everything you've been saying has been based around like system needing to be figured out, blah blah blah. There's
context. Right? There's context.
Let me tell you something. The honest truth: if we don't win it this year, do you think Mikel Arteta will be sacked? That's probably what you're going to say, right? The answer
I'm asking if you think he should go, not if he's going to be sacked. I don't think he will be. I'm asking if you think he should go.
I think Mikel Arteta, even if we don't win the league this year, will probably be given another opportunity to go again. That is probably the reality. They're going to probably look at it that this team is their second year of actually competing for the league. Last year, we competed for the league. This year, to show that it's not last year wasn't Fugazi, we got to do it again. So for us to be at this point of the season and to be still in the mix with injuries, with everything else, being only 2 points off top, we can go top of the table if we win our game against Fulham. Don't forget that.
Yeah, and that's why I think writing Arsenal off is. That's why I think writing Arsenal off is crazy, because after this weekend fixtures, obviously we'll preview Liverpool more on Monday before the game, as we always do. But by the end of the 20th games, Arsenal could be back top of the league. And I think some people that have backed Arsenal will now go, maybe I'll start unbacking them now, and I can always jump back on the bandwagon if they turn it round. But I want to be one of the early adopters to saying it's gone wrong. We know our social.
Tomorrow, Terry. Tomorrow's going to be crazy. Lee's going to be coming after you.
Tomorrow?
Wait, don't you have Leon tomorrow?
It's not Tuesday tomorrow, bruv. Tomorrow's Saturday.
Nice.
Oh, I'm tripping.
So you're thinking
the week of Christmas does screw your head up. I forgot today was Friday when I woke up. I thought it was like Wednesday or something. No, I mean, and it's funny. I've got an Arsenal fan coming for me if his team loses.
Yeah.
Think that for a moment. It's mad, isn't it?
Terry, yesterday I got told because I did a Real Madrid Arsenal combined 11 that it's my fault we lost because of my combined 11. What is Lee talking about?
Hang on. It depends. Who the hell did you put in it? Over whom?
I put like 7 Arsenal players in a combined 11. But listen, but that's
hang on. Please tell me you dropped Odegaard for Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, Jude Bellingham was in.
Over Odegaard?
No, over any other Real Madrid midfielder.
But they
so
play
it was
in
two Arsenal. It was 2 Arsenal midfielders and Jude Bellingham.
So over Tchouaméni, over Camavinga.
No. Sorry, I'm mistaken. I'm mistaking myself.
Hang on. And please tell me you didn't put Kai Havertz in the team.
No. I put Zinchenko in the team. No, that was a regret.
Zinchenko.
They don't have
who was in goal.
Oh, Raya.
Christ.
No. Courtois was injured.
That doesn't matter. I'd play an injured Courtois over your goalie.
No. The worst part about it is I put Jesus in also. That's pretty bad.
That's very
yes, it was your fault. My word. Are Liverpool becoming title favourites in your opinion, JJ, over Arsenal and City now?
Shocking hell.
Favourites?
It's yours to lose. Don't forget that you're top of the table.
No, favourites, no. I think if you go, I guess it's context, isn't it? You look at where Liverpool were last season. No one expected us to be here. We are definitely in a title race. Doesn't make us favourites, no, because we weren't top at Christmas, were we, Egal? We weren't top at Christmas, so
you're top of the
there
table.
You are. Look at this.
We weren't. It's a fact. We weren't top at Christmas.
You're top at New Year's. You're top at New Year's if we lose, right?
No. If you lose, if you lose.
Guess what? That doesn't matter because Liverpool, even if they're top at Christmas, they've only won the league once when they're top at Christmas in the Premier League era.
Yeah, and likewise with yourselves. You're the only team. You're the only team alongside Liverpool that have been at top at Christmas and not won the league. So we're both in that situation. Hence why I'm saying I don't think we're favourites. I've just said.
Who's your favourite?
I think.
Who did you get to lose the league to?
It has to be City. It has to be.
I think. For me, it's definitely City.
You know why I think it's not City?
I think
no team is ever four-peated, and there's a reason for it.
No,
never happened.
Quintupled either. No team's sides ever quintupled.
You nearly said no one's done treble. You nearly did. You had to stop yourself there.
No, I didn't because
ain't
nobody care about a booty treble.
I remember you. Nobbins, I remember your tweet after the Crystal Palace game. You said your team doesn't even look like they're up for it to win the league this year. Has something changed in one game?
Yeah, the main change is Arsenal don't want it as well. It seems they don't want to run away with it.
Yeah, and I think
this is the year for Arsenal to do it. Pep Guardiola. This is the worst. This is the worst half a season under Guardiola at Man City ever. That period of 1 win in 6 is Guardiola's worst period ever. And yet,
for me,
if City win their game in hand, they will go ahead of Arsenal. What does that tell you?
And that for me is why I still think City are title contenders, because they've still got a spine of a team that can go 10, 15 games unbeaten in the Premier League, and that's where they'll just go and win the league. This Liverpool team still, for how well we've done, considering, a new midfield, all the PGMOL stuff that's gone against us, we're still, do you know what I mean? Me personally, I still don't trust this midfield to deliver anything because they haven't done yet. Whereas Nobbins is in a situation where he can look at that team and be like, okay, you guys have done it before. So until Liverpool go on a 10-game run where they win every single game and convince me otherwise, I still think Liverpool might draw a game here and there, and I think once City go on that run, I think they'll be title winners, and that's what I predicted at the beginning of the season. But I didn't expect Liverpool to be where they are. So favourites, definitely not. But we're ahead of schedule. We're 12 months ahead of schedule for Liverpool.
Guess what? I think Liverpool have their own problems. With the fact that only Mo Salah is like their only clinical striker or clinical forward at this moment in time. Their forwards are not firing. Arsenal have their own problems with their shooting boots, and City have had their injury problems and midfield issues, trying to figure out which one of their new midfielders is going to click for them. So I think all three of our teams have their vulnerabilities. Now, are we thinking that Kevin De Bruyne comes back and City are just going to start winning all their games again? I don't think that's the case this season. I think City are still slightly vulnerable, and you could see them drop points to a Newcastle, Brentford like they did before, or even somebody else. They still have to play Liverpool away, if I'm not mistaken. They still have to play Arsenal again. They still have to play a lot of these other teams also. I'm not thinking this City team is going to now go here on out and just go 11 games straight like they did previously. They haven't shown that level of consistency this season with the squad that they currently have constructed. As for Arsenal and Liverpool, we have to get our own acts together in the final third. I think whichever one of our attacks can get firing and we can get another player to step up, like they did, like we've seen in the past from Arsenal last year, and we've seen from some of the Liverpool players at the back end of last season when they went on that run. It's anyone's to win. I don't think there's no clear favorite yet.
No, I think there's anyone's to win, and I don't think there's an out and out favorite. But if I had to put my money on anyone winning the league, it would be Liverpool. It would be City. I think if you go and look at Liverpool are seemingly in a title race where no one really expected us to be in one. I think very few fans would have said Liverpool would be in one.
I think it's too early.
But the thing is, I don't think it is. I think when you look back on kind of Liverpool's title winning season, we went and separated ourselves from City because we won every single game when City had their little rocky period. We haven't done that this season. We've had opportunities. We've had opportunities where we could have separated ourselves from the pack, and not Arsenal, not Liverpool were able to go and do that. Hence why City are in a position where after going away to after going away for the obviously Club World Cup, after having all their injuries, they've got a game in hand us and are 3 points behind City. And if they win that, they go ahead on goal difference.
But guys,
that is crazy.
The Premier League in general is much tougher. There's much more better teams this season. So the fact that there's more teams that are better means there's more teams that potentially can take points off any of our squads. It's not a situation where we necessarily have to run away with it.
Are they better?
We just need to catch fire at the business end of the season, and we also need to make sure that we can strengthen our squad in January. Out of us three, who's most likely to strengthen their squad in January to get them over the hump? That's what I'm thinking. And with Kevin De Bruyne coming back and City could potentially go into January window and strengthen, that's where I think they could separate themselves from us. I think if, as currently constructed, if Liverpool go and get a defensive midfielder or they get another attacker in, that's where they could separate themselves. Arsenal, the same thing.
How many games have City lost in the Premier League, Nobbins?
Is it 4? 3 or 4?
4? I think they've lost less games than Arsenal have in the league, which suggests
the same amount of games as us. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Well, same amount. That's my point. So they've won the same amount whilst having the worst period in their history, the worst 6 months under Pep Guardiola.
They both lost 3
in history. I just think they might not go on a 10-game run, but they'll go on a 9. And Liverpool and Arsenal have proven that they can't go on even a 5-6 game consecutive winning streak. So for me, it's City's right now until we can prove otherwise, in my opinion.
It's certainly going to be an interesting one, viewers. Let us know what you think and feel. Golden goals time on the show right now for us, people. As you can see, everybody's predictions, not everyone that's on the show, that is for this weekend's golden goals. If you haven't downloaded the app yet on BetMGM, get it done now. It's free. Costs you nothing to play, and every single game week you can win £2 million. The first game we're going to go through is, of course, Luton versus Chelsea. What have you gone for in that, Nobbins?
I've copied you, it looks like. I'm going for a 2-1. I think both sides will score, but both sides will therefore concede. That's how life works. It'll be a tricky game, but they will win, Chelsea, 2-1.
Yeah, I've gone to 2-1 to Luton as well. Egal, how do you see this game going, mate?
Luton are going to beat Chelsea simply because of how they performed against all the other top 6 sides. They gave Arsenal a big problem. They gave City a little wobble. I think they picked up points off Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken. So this Chelsea team, this is the type of team they struggle against, a team that's good defensively and that can just counter you quickly. I think I'm going to go with a 2-1 Luton victory.
2-1, fair dues. Crystal Palace, Brentford. What would you say on that one, JJ?
It's a tough one. I think Crystal Palace get this one, and I think they get a 1-0. I think at home they can be quite strong. They were tricky against Liverpool. I think they've got a goal in them now. I think at least they're coming back to a big shout. Brentford might be preoccupied with what's going on with Tony, a bit of rumours circulating around him coming back. It will be a tough game for Crystal Palace. I think Brentford are a decent outfit. I just think Crystal Palace at home, they should be able to get the job done. They don't score loads of goals, but I think a 1-0 is fair for them.
Yeah. Well, Nobbins, you and I have both gone for the same score on this one as well. We've both gone 2-2. A little Desmond 2-2.
Great minds think alike. Do you know what I mean?
I know, mate. It's true. I know. Must be a Manchester connection. Like you actually being from there and me liking United and Coronation Street. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yo, Terry, somebody DM'd me the other day a video of you mistakenly saying I'm not a United fan, saying, "See, he's not a United fan."
Yeah. They're so desperate, some of these people, aren't they? Sard, Aston Villa versus Burnley.
I think that could be it's gonna be a 2-0, man, to Aston Villa. I was gonna try and give Burnley some sort of hope, but bro, they just do it to themselves, man. They just do it to themselves. When I watched them play against who were they playing this weekend? And I watched that game.
Liverpool.
Was it Liverpool?
Yeah.
They were playing Liverpool, innit? Yeah, I was watching the Liverpool game, bro, and they just do it to themselves, man. They just haven't got the defensive errors that they lead or they let happen, bro. It's just what kills them. Otherwise, I would say like they could possibly go and get a goal, but defensively they're just too crap. So I'm gonna go to. I'm trying to say it in a nice way, but yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2-0 to Aston Villa.
What about yourself, Cam?
1-0.
For Villa versus Burnley,
2-0.
2-1. Sorry, I think Villa's going to concede. I hope not. I have 2 Burnley defenders in for. I have 2 Villa defenders in for my FPL, but I don't have a choice at this stage. But it's just, when's Villa not conceded? Like it's just like I think comfortably. Actually, it's probably 3-1 if I'm going to be honest.
3-1. Yeah, score the goals.
3-1. I'll go 3-1. There'll be goals. I hope a clean sheet for Villa, but they haven't.
You've gone for a big one. You've gone 4-0 to Villa.
Oh gosh, I have, haven't I? Yeah, I like. Villa are really good, man. And Burnley, I feel sorry for them. I love Vincent Kompany, obviously, but yeah, Burnley just aren't it, and Villa pop off. So yeah, I back them to get a big win in the Claret and Blue derby.
Are you, JJ? What would you go for with the City Sheffield United game? There's some big predictions in here on this one. We've got some 7-0s in here, some 5-0s in here, some 5-1s. What would you go with, JJ?
3-0. 3-0. I think that City are still warming up. I wouldn't go 4-5 yet, but they can do it. Sheffield United, again, they're just in a similar situation to Burnley. They're just not good enough. They're just not good enough, I think, across the park. They do try. They set up a bit better with Wilder now, but they're just man for man. I mean, I think I'd even take the Burnley players over the Sheffield United players. I think that's how badly I rate the squad. So I think 3-0. I think 3-0.
No, can I just
the worst away?
Can I just say the league? Can I just say somebody needs to check on their boy Tom, bro? Because this guy, since the Liverpool game, man's going crazy with these scorelines.
He predicted 8-2 to Liverpool in the Arsenal-Liverpool game. Yeah.
I clowned him for that. I was like, I don't know what you're smoking, bro. Bring it my way, bro.
But they could beat Sheffield United 7-0. They could do that.
I think if you had Haaland, maybe. I don't see City.
Yeah, true.
I think scoring 7 goals without Haaland is crazy. Like I
no
think
Stones, no Doku, no Haaland, no De Bruyne.
What's going on with Haaland and De Bruyne? Sorry, Terry. I know you want to. What's going on with De Bruyne and Haaland? I saw them training, so I'm so confused as to why they're not coming back.
They're in the early stages of like initial training. De Bruyne's obviously still injured from like his first game, but sort of like Jan is when he should be coming back, and same vibes of Haaland again. It should be sort of like early to mid Jan's when they'll be fully back. Pep just doesn't want to rush them, which is fair enough.
They have a good enough squad where they don't need to worry about that again.
Yeah, I'm going 4-0 though. I still think they'll score 4. Wolves,
I don't think they score 4-0, 5-0. You guys, let's be honest. It's gonna be a City just dominate and they score 2 goals and they get out of there.
Fair enough. Nobbins, what have you gone for? Wolves, Everton.
I've gone for Everton to win 2-1 because I like Everton and I like Sean Dyche. So therefore, I predicted them to win.
Or it could be Wolves beat you and you don't like them this year.
You said it, not me.
Maybe. I'm going for a 2-1 Wolves winning that game. And then the biggest game tomorrow, the might of Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United. What would your score prediction be on this, man like Egal?
The Mark Goldbridge derby. I'm gonna go 2. I'm gonna go 2-0. I'm gonna go 2-0 Man United, man.
I hope you're right, but that could be a kiss to death. What do you reckon, JJ?
I'm gonna go a draw. I think Nottingham Forest on the counter attack they were quite decent against Newcastle. I know Newcastle have been great, but they weren't too bad at all. And I think United can get got at on the counter attack. I think a 1-1, in my opinion.
How about yourself, Cam? What would your score prediction be, brother?
1-0. 1-0 comfortably.
1-0 comfortably. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's like when I say 1-0 comfortably, I mean like I won't be worried. Like we'll probably hope like if we score in the first half, I won't feel like Forrest is going to score for the rest of the game. Is how I'm going to feel. So that's where my head's at. But you never know, man. 1-0. If we concede first, yeah. We're done. But 1-0 United. 1-0.
They're still missing that striker, so you're good.
No, but you've gone for a pretty big one. You've gone 3-1 away win, Man United.
Yeah, I think they'll build on that really good win against Villa. There is still no Egal just alluded to. There is still no Iwanyi for Forest, who's like their star striker. So I think they'll get the job done. I think Elanga will score first, so it'll be a cheeky 1-0, and he'll do a really annoying celebration, but United will get the job done.
I hope so. It'd be nice to score 3 goals, 2 games on the bounce for the first time in a long time. Probably over a year since we've done that in the Premier League. So that'd be nice. I've gone with 2-1 to Man United. I'm backing my boys to do it. Now, look, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in today. If you haven't downloaded Golden Goals on the BetMGM app yet, if you're based in the UK and over the age of 18, get it done now. Every match week in the Premier League, you can win £2 million if you get 6 correct scores right. It's free to play every week for the entirety of this season. Plus, if you only get say two right, but you that's the most, or you get 3 right or 4 right, you can go into a pot prize to that's of £5,000 as well. So there's lots of money available to win. It's free to enter. Why not give it a whirl? Scan the QR code above my head or click on the link in the description or live comment section to have a play. Boys, I want to thank you all very much for coming on the show. I know it's Friday. I know it's a Christmas and festivity week, so it's really, really busy. We're back tomorrow live with match reactions all day. So we'll see the viewers back then. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very